Hello everybody. So we are going to draw another hand again today. The last time we drew this hand right here. We're going to draw another one that's going to be fairly similar to this one in some ways, but different in other ways. Again, this is just practice, just kind of getting the hang of things here. So I think I said the last time that drawing this kind of a position where your fingers are all together is a little easier. So we're going to make things a little different this time and just make it a little more challenging. We're going to have this pinky is going to go up like that, and then our thumb is going to go out like this. So we're going to draw this like these three fingers are going to be the same. This general shape of your hand in here is going to be the same. The only difference is pinky up, and then thumb instead of being here, thumb is out. Okay, so some differences, some same things. So because of that, if you keep out your hand drawing that you did the last time, that might be helpful. You might find that helpful, especially if it came out really well. If you worked on it and you were like, this is the worst thing I've ever made in my life, you may want to start fresh. But if you did it and you're pretty happy with how it came out, you might want to have that near you just to compare. Okay, so I'm going to have mine right over there. Got my paper here. So again, if you're right-handed, you're drawing your left hand. Left-handed, you're going to draw your right hand. Keep it down next to you. Don't trace your hands. I can tell when you trace, and you're better than that. You don't need to trace. So when you do this, you know how we said. So when we did actually, let's kind of review a couple things. When we did this hand here, we started with blocky shape. Then we drew on our thumb. Then you did knuckles. Then you put your fingers down so it hits that line of your thumb here. Finger, finger, finger. And then we did some troubleshooting and then added a little bit more details and we were done. Same idea over here. The difference is our blocky shape is going to be a smidge different, but in some ways it's going to be kind of the same. Because what I'm going to do is when I block it in, I'm just going to start by blocking in. I'm going to ignore my thumb. So I'm just going to do blocky shape up to about here and then up and then down like this. And then I'm going to ignore my pinky, and I'm just going to come around over here. So I'm going to have a blocky shape where I'm just kind of ignoring some of these, like the parts that were sticking out over here. I'm just going to kind of like just go right behind them. So when I make my blocky shape, I want to start with my wrist here. Make this roughly life size here, okay? So you're going to go, if I kind of keep it like this, we're going to go out a bit like this for this part of your thumb. Again, I'm going to ignore that chopped off thumb, so I'm just going to kind of come in a bit like so. I'm going to angle slightly down over here. Again, I'm going to ignore my pinky, and I'm just going to kind of come a very gentle kind of a curve out and back in like that for over here. And then wrist kind of comes down like that. So it's going to be kind of like so. Again, you want something that looks like an oven mitt. So once we have this, so again, we have blocky shape now. So the next thing that we do is block in our thumb. Always those steps in order. Blocky shape at the first, and then block in where your thumb goes. So our thumb is not going to go straight up. Our thumb is going to go out like, let me hold my hand right. Okay, so out about like this. If you're holding your hand, I'm going to ignore my pinky for now, so I'm just going to keep it tucked in. If you look at where your thumb goes, if I put my pencil along the top of my knuckles, we can see that my thumb is not going to be higher than my knuckles. You probably have to like really force it to make your thumb taller than your knuckles. Don't make it taller. One of the issues that people have with this sometimes is they'll make their thumbs look gigantic, and we don't want to have gigantic thumbs. So one of the easiest ways to prevent that is don't go higher than your knuckles here, okay? So we're gonna start right on this edge right here. So we've kind of gone like this. And when we do this, where I'm gonna go, if I'm looking at my own thumb and I'm kind of doing this right here, I'm gonna go up, not quite the exact same angle as this right here, as if I was just going straight back. I'm gonna go angle it up just a smidge, and then I'm just gonna go a little curve, and then I'm just going to go and I'm just gonna kind of come back in like that. So something like that. So again, if I put my pencil on my knuckles there, my thumb is not taller than my knuckles are going to be, which is what we want. Okay, it can almost be like I can like move my thumb way down. I can move it like pretty high up. Just keep it as long as it's lower than the top of your knuckles. You should be good. So now we have this over here. And again, remember, when we do this, we want to make sure that we draw in this line for our palm here, because that way we know where our fingers are going to sit. So if you like to ski, imagine that this is your Black Diamond Trail coming down over here, and then we're going to gently slope down, and now we're more of like a fox or a rabbit or something, kind of curving in like this. And then again, just kind of, so it goes nice, gentle curve. Whew. And then again, about, it doesn't go all the way across over here. You're going to leave some space over here. If you remember from last time, you always want to double check this. Make sure that this line right here is about halfway between top of your knuckles here and where your wrist is. So just make sure that's halfway between here and here. Once you get that in over here, we are now going to draw, starting from about here, 3 knuckles. 1, 2, 3. But we don't want to end our third one over here because we're going to actually have our pinky over here. And in fact, you know what? We might even want to just like, I don't want to draw my pinky yet, but I'm just going to like make a little spot for my pinky just so I have like a sense of where it's going to be. So I'm just going to make like a little pinky space over here. So now I'm just going to have 3 knuckles that fit into here. Again, these should be roughly the same size. So we're just going to go up and then down and then up and then down and then up and then down. Up, down, up, down, up, down. They should be all about the same width. So if you have 1 giant knuckle and then 2 teeny tiny ones, fix that. Take a moment and fix that. So we have our knuckles over here. When we do our pinky, for the most part, should I add it in yet? I'm just going to kind of add it in right now. I'm going to block it in. Let's just kind of think. It doesn't typically go straight up and down like that. Usually if you're relaxed, it kind of like goes out at a little bit of an angle. We'll kind of come back to how long it should be. I'm just going to really lightly put something in here for now, and then we'll come back to how long it would be. Okay. So, so if you did it and your pinky is like way up here, that's fine. Don't worry about it for now. We'll change that later. So we did our blocky shape. We put in our thumb, and then we did our knuckles. So our next step is to get these lines in of our finger here. These are going to be a smidge different than how we did them before, and the only reason why is because when you do this, you have like some visible hand stuff going on over here, lots of wrinkles and things like that, and we want to make sure that we have room for that hand stuff. So when we do this part, this side right here, we're not going to go straight down. We're going to kind of angle it in just a smidge into that part of the finger here. So it's just going to angle in just a smidge. And I just want to put that line in over here for right now, because then when we do this side over here, again, this is not going to go straight down either. It's going to also angle in just a smidge, kind of like that. So this part of your hand here, where your fingertips are, should be a little narrower here than where your knuckles are. This should be a little wider up here. So this is going to be kind of angled in like this. Now, I was telling you, don't stress out about how high to make your pinky yet, and we'll kind of come back to that. And the reason why is because we can kind of use what we've drawn here to figure out how long our pinky should be. So if you think about it, when we did this one, the bottom edge of our pinky is a little lower, or sorry, a little higher up on the paper than the bottom edge of your ring finger. So if you go to here, here's the bottom of your ring finger. If you imagine the bottom of your pinky is about here, I'm just kind of estimating, it's going to be right around there. And then if I look at this space here, and I look at where this space is here, I can even put my pencil kind of right on here like that, because the height of my pinky is going to be about the same height. It just kind of curves over like that. So if I have about that much space here, I should have about that much space here. If it's like slightly off, I think it's probably fine. But just kind of have that idea in mind. If it's like wildly different, you probably want to change it. But if it's like roughly pretty close, you can probably get away with leaving it where it is. We're going to ignore our pinky now for a while. So when we go to do the lines between these fingers here, we're really just maybe be drawing our middle finger here. So we're just going to go to the valleys here in between here and here, and we're just going to come down like so. Your fingers are all right on top of each other, so they're all touching. So again, we're just kind of coming in like this. Remember to curve the fingertips a little bit on here. So just remember that this part of your fingertips down here and here should be curved a little bit. And it'll be kind of like that. Okay. Let's see here. So if we do that here, let's erase this line right here if you still have it. Go ahead and get rid of that guy. And then remember, when you do your thumb here, again, you want to make sure, we want this to have this nice kind of curve. It's going to kind of come up like this. You want to make sure that the tip of your thumb is narrower. So again, it's going to be narrow here. And then it doesn't start to jut out until about here where it gets wide again. So where your knuckle is. So then the tip of that finger here is going to be narrower, and then it juts out a bit where it gets wider. All right. And then let's take care of our pinky here. So if you're doing this, you can see that this is it might be kind of hard to see on my camera here. It might be easier to see on your own, but where this knuckle kind of curves down, it actually kind of extends down a bit farther. There's like a little pit in here. So we're going to kind of extend this part down just a smidge more here. And then when you do your pinky, depending on what your fingers look like, some people's pinkies are just like really nice cylinders where they just go straight up and down. And some people's pinkies are all gnarled and do weird things. And that's fun to draw. So mine kind of have like a little bumpy part out here at the beginning. So it's like a little curve right here. And then it starts going the opposite direction, where once it gets to about here, then it starts going like up a bit like that. And then it just kind of like curves out over here. And then it's going to kind of it goes like down until it hits that part of the knuckle, and then back in like fairly straight. So it's just going to go down until it hits that little part right there where like that knuckle is. And then it's just kind of like a nice fairly straight line kind of come back down in here and then down. So you get like that nice little curve. One of the reasons why hands are fun to draw is because they have character. There's like all sorts of weird little wrinkles and bends and things like that. They are very, very expressive parts of your body. So we got like a decent outline of our shape here. We've got this kind of like odd like section over here, which we're going to come back to here and probably like right about now. But for the most part, everything else is kind of making sense for the most part. Once we get done with this, we'll do like some troubleshooting here, and then we'll start to add in some details here. So right now, this section right here is just a line kind of coming down like that. When you look at your hand though, you probably see all sorts of things going on. There's like curves here, there's like wrinkles and things kind of coming back all over the place. So what we're going to do is we're going to simplify this a bit. So we're not going to draw every single like wrinkle and fold, but once you get the simplified version of it drawn in and things start to make sense, then that's when you can just start adding in details till the cows come home. You can just like make it more and more detailed if you want, but we're just going to kind of keep it simple at the beginning here, okay? So instead of being straight down or straight across like that, that's kind of diagonal down, what we're going to do is we're going to make it more of a curve and then more of a vertical curve where I'm just kind of like bulging out a little bit here, but then I'm kind of bringing it in. And then once I get to about here, then I'm going to kind of curve it out a little bit more into that. It's like almost like a and an arrow. It's like two angles here. So I'm just kind of going doop, doop, like that. So again, I'm going to erase all that extra stuff over here. And then once you have that drawn in, you've got one good fold right here. That like good fold right in there going on, which kind of starts right about here and then kind of curves up like that. And then you've got another good one right about there. So like, that. So we're just gonna draw in a couple of those little guys. Keep them light, don't go super, super dark with them. The darker you make them, the more perfect they have to be. So if you're drawing them and they don't look all that great, just kind of drag your eraser over the top of them and you can kind of lighten them up, and then no one will notice them as much. So let's kind of firm up our fingers on here. So our fingers, especially this index finger, you might see not exactly a straight line kind of coming down. You might see like a little bit more of like a curve here, and then it kind of like shifts direction like that. Like it's like in a little bit like that. And this is kind of curve over. I think our middle finger we can probably leave alone for the most part. This one, oops, sorry. Like that. This one over here is probably pretty decent for the most part. Again, we have this line right here for our, that little line fold over here, which again is going to start like a little bit like around in here. And that's, remember, if you remember from the last time, if we kind of draw that edge out, that's going to tell us the widest part of our hand over here. So if that's like the widest part over here, I'm going to kind of make the little bulgy part over here, and then I'm going to start to kind of like taper it back in towards my wrist over here like that. And then now we're starting to kind of get into like details and things. We should have pretty decent lines going on over here. So let's start with our fingernail. So our thumbnail is going to look just like the one that we did the other day. We're just going to kind of go in a little bit over here, and then kind of angles back like that until it hits that side. Again, don't put on the opposite side. Just like not to put on the opposite side over here, please don't put your fingernail on this side of your finger. People do that sometimes. Don't do that. That's really not fun to look at. I don't know why. There's something like about fingernails on the wrong side of fingers that I find scary. So yeah, don't do that. All right, so you'll probably see your fingernails, at least definitely, most certainly you're gonna see your ring fingernail over here. So again, we wanna make sure our fingernails aren't as wide as our full finger over here, and we're just gonna kind of lightly plop in that guy. And then we might see a little bit of this one over here. And then might see a little bit of this one over here. So just kind of throwing in those fingernails on there. And then once we get fingernails, we are now into the part where we're adding in some shadows. So again, depending on, like, if you have like just regular ambient lighting in your house, you might not have like a lot of really clear shadows on your hand. So just think, where are your fingers touching your hand? And that's the area where it's gonna be the most dark. So in general, like right in here on this side of our hand over here, we can kind of like add in a little bit of shading in over here and kind of fade that into, oh, I've got this cool little finger wrinkle here. I'm gonna draw that in. We can kind of like, bring it right here on the sides over here. The little triangular spaces between your fingernails, again, always a good place to start from too. And again, just to let that just kind of fade into the white of the paper. And then we can get a little bit more on this side over here, just kind of like darken in that section, just a smidge over here. And then another thing we did yesterday was we darkened in just a little bit on this side of your, whatever you call this part of your hand right here, the thumb bottom, I don't know, whatever that part is. We're just kind of darkening that part over here a little bit. And again, let it just kind of like fade into the white of the paper here, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we can kind of get like just like a very light, like little shadows around your knuckles over here. You can kind of get that's up too. And again, if you're gonna, remember too, if you're gonna do little knuckle wrinkles and things like that, and knuckle lines, keep those things light. You are not 100 years old, so you don't have really, really dark wrinkles on your knuckles here. So keep those things nice and light, okay? You might have like a little couple, like especially like really, you have like really light ones on this side of your pinky over here, like that, like little part right in here and right there. So, but keep them super, super light, okay? So hopefully you have something that looks in the realm of this, if not better. I cannot wait to see what you've done. All right, thank you so much. Bye.